This is the map of circumcision in the world. The red countries, more than 80% of them are circumcised. The orange countries like Canada, US, and Australia, between 20 and 80% of them are circumcised. And the yellow countries, less than 20% of them are circumcised. You hear this a lot, that circumcision is good or bad. And that is why in this video, we're gonna see, in terms of science, is circumcision good or bad? First, we have to see where circumcision came from and where it got famous. Historians believe that around 15,000 years ago, circumcision started. But when Judaism made their kids get circumcised, it became very well known all around the world. Christians do not approve of this task, but Muslims do. And that is why in Islam, you also have to get circumcised. It's a very simple task. You cut off the foreskin, and it usually happens when they're a child. But in Judaism, getting circumcised is a tradition itself. Jewish people do not go to the doctor to get circumcised. They have to go visit the mohel. A mohel is a person that only does circumcision to Jewish kids. But this is in terms of religion. But let's see if this is actually good or bad. Let's talk about the positives first. Most doctors around the world believe circumcision is a good thing because it keeps it much cleaner, especially little boys that always play in dirt. Doctors say if you're not circumcised, your sweat and dirt get between the skin and it causes it to get much dirtier. And if the kid or his parents don't clean him, it could cause an infection. Another good thing about a circumcised boy is that he can easily clean himself, because with just soap and water, he can get the job done. But if he's not circumcised, the job is more difficult and it takes longer, especially for boys that don't have the patience for anything. Another good thing about circumcisions is that the microbes around the area are less, and it reduces the chances of getting an STD. It's good to know that there is a type of cancer called penile cancer. And yes, it literally means cancer on the penis area. It is a very rare disease, but it's found more on uncircumcised men. People that are circumcised, it's usually done when they're babies, but it also gets done when the men are older, when people change their religion, or the doctors suggest that they do it. There's a disease that men get, and it causes their penis area to get swollen. The doctors tell them if they get circumcised, it's better for them, and it really helps them out. The risk of getting circumcised when you're older is a lot higher because the chances of mistakes is more. In Judaism, they believe the baby should get circumcised the first 2 days it's born. But in Islam, there's no set date. They just have to do it. Right now, the number of circumcised men are rising. Like United States, that was like the Europe before, and they barely got circumcised. Nowadays, around 71% of the men in the United States are circumcised. And that's because the doctors suggested to their parents. So it's not really a religious thing. The highest rate of circumcision is in Israel and all the Islam countries, and that's more than 95% of them. But the Europeans do not believe in that, and the least amount of circumcisions happens in Europe. That's under 10%. But why does the Europeans hate this? Some people believe that it's anti-human to do this. There's a lot of these people in Europe. When you ask them why is it anti-human, they say because you're doing something to the baby without its consent, and that's not a right thing to do. And they also believe that it causes premature ejaculation and erectile dysfunction. But are these beliefs correct or are they wrong? Does it really cause premature ejaculation or does it cause erectile dysfunction? But in terms of science, the doctors and physicians don't believe in that. They say if you're circumcised or uncircumcised, in that case it doesn't matter. The chances of mistakes is very rare in circumcision, but it still happens because you're in a very sensitive area on a human body. When David Raymer is born, his parents decide to have him circumcised, but the doctor did not know what he was doing and he damaged David's penis. And they said they couldn't do anything and the penis has to be cut off, and that's to keep him alive. It was 1965 and they decide to cut off his penis, and after that his parents decide to not tell anyone and raise him as a girl. But when he was 15, David finds out he was a boy, but they cut off his penis. He got very depressed, and that followed him until he was 30 years old, and it led him to commit suicide, and that happened when he was around 30 years old. So we got to know a little bit of negative and positives of circumcision, but is it worth it to do? We're asking in terms of science, not religion. When a baby gets circumcised, it's uncomfortable for a few days, then they get better. Because it keeps you clean, it's very worth it. And people that say, like the Europeans, we should wait for the kid to get older, then ask for his consent, that doesn't work either. Because a kid barely lets you give him a haircut. Forget about a circumcision. Doctors suggest if you want to do a circumcision, do it before the baby is 2 months old. Because before then, it's easy to put the baby to sleep and do the procedure. But when they're older, they have to use stronger drugs to put the kid to sleep and do the procedure. And that makes it very risky. Anti-circumcision people say something else as well. They say circumcision causes less feelings down there for men. But in the US, they did a research on 20,000 men before circumcision and after circumcision. And most of the men said they felt no difference. Doctors also say the foreskin doesn't have anything to do with sexual pleasure. Until now, we found out that circumcision not only is it not bad, it's good. This is based on science. But in terms of religion, like Judaism and Islam, you have to do it. And in other religions, you don't. This video is very useful because there's a lot of lies on this subject. But we have to know that science approves it.